It's wonderful to see everyone here. It's a mass crowd, and I'm delighted to welcome everybody to the UK, to London, and to ICANN50. I'm so pleased so many of you have brought your partners and your children to enjoy one of the greatest, if not the greatest city in the world. I feel a huge privilege to be your host. I feel like I'm the Seb Coe of geekdom, that this is the Olympics for geeks, and I'm in charge. And I very much hope that everything runs as smoothly as the Olympics did, and that also, like the Olympics, we bring together nations in a common endeavour, which is, of course, the future success of the greatest technological revolution in our lifetime, the internet. It's very hard to believe that it's been 15 years since ICANN first met in Singapore, that this event has never before taken place in London, because we pride ourselves in the UK in terms of supporting digital technology. We in the UK are early adopters of technology. The UK consumer led the way in terms of e-commerce, has led the way in terms of adopting tablets and smartphones. The internet economy is already responsible for 8% of our GDP. That's a greater share of our economy than any other G20 country. And a lot of this is down to the success of the innovation in British technology pioneers, but we also like to think that government has played its part. We've tried to create an environment in which IT can thrive. We're rolling out our superfast broadband network. We're creating tax relief for innovators and entrepreneurs. We're making government services digital by default, and government now interacts with its consumers much like a business does. We know every minute of every day how many people are using our services and what they're using them for. And we found out some fascinating facts. It won't surprise you that the most used government service is paying your taxes, quite right too. The next used government service is applying for a passport, although we've had a bit of a hitch with those in the last few weeks. And no one will guess what the least used government service is, but I give this to you free of charge to use in your next quiz. The least used government service, digital service in the UK, is an application to be buried at sea. But we are hoping that our digital pioneering technique will see a rapid increase in applications. So that's one reason why we love having ICANN here, because we like to think the UK is embracing technology in every shape and form. But also, of course, here in London, 10 miles to the southwest lies the childhood home of Tim Berners-Lee, the great brain behind the creation of the World Wide Web. And of course, 10 miles to the east, I've no idea whether that's east or west, I can't tell where we are in this cavernous room, is the Olympics to which I referred. And of course, he tweeted a worldwide tweet, "This is for everyone," about the Olympics, a description not just of the Olympic Games, but of course of the web and the internet. And of course, just as importantly for today, how we believe the internet should be governed. Because I think it is worth reflecting for a minute that the way the internet has been governed has to be seen as an unqualified success story. It's created the opportunity for massive economic growth and for greater intellectual freedom. So if we're going to look at the governance of the internet, it's important that we preserve those principles. That includes, of course, ICANN in the performance of its role in coordinating and developing the domain name system so that it serves the global community. And the current review of ICANN accountability is very important in that regard. And that links to the IANA function, which has performed so well under the existing arrangements, under contract to the US government. So the average internet user might wonder what on earth we're talking about. What are we discussing? We often talk about the stewardship of the IANA function. And I always think it's the perfect way to describe that role. It's not about regulation, and it's not about ownership, and it's not about one country controlling the internet or dictating its terms. It's about nurturing the internet, supporting it, creating the environment in which it can develop and grow so that it can be safely handed on to the next generation. But the internet is constantly evolving, and the way it's stewarded has to evolve as well. And that's why we in the UK strongly support the moves by the US to let go, if you like, of the ICANN function. It's a huge step forward in making this global resource a truly global enterprise. And it's a move that has a symbolic mirror in the very makeup of ICANN, which has shifted under Fadi Chahadi's leadership from being a US-based and US-dominated organization to one that is clearly seen as much more international. And of course, with such a vital role to play, it's absolutely imperative that the alternative model we move to maintains security, maintains stability, and maintains the resilience that underpins the global domain name system. It not only just has to be capable of doing the job in the old way, but it also has to be capable of doing it better. And it has to be capable of adapting and coping with the next wave of internet-enabled devices, the so-called Internet of Things. So that's why we engage with this final phase of privatization of the domain name system. When we engage with it, we have to be cautious, and we mustn't rush into changing the arrangements. It's only going to happen if the system continues to evolve and develop organically with the full involvement and input of all interested parties all over the world. And that can only happen, in my view, if the stewardship continues to be carried out in a collaborative, bottom-up way, in a spirit of global cooperation rather than state-centred regulation. Some say this can't work. It's a monumental task. It can only be undertaken at a governmental or supranational level. But as I say, look how well the ICANN model has worked so far. In less than 20 years, the internet has revolutionized the way the world works, talks, and studies. And this explosive growth has not been managed by government. It was driven by you. So look at the principles that we agreed at the global multi-stakeholder meeting on the future of internet governance. Doesn't that trip off the tongue? The Net Mondial. Those principles weren't created by politicians or by the United Nations or by anonymous people in shadowy rooms. They were created in the open by the community that supports and curates the internet, the people without whom life online would be simply impossible, the people who have the best possible grasp of both the challenges facing the internet and the means required to tackle them. Or to put it another way, the people in this room. The principles developed at Net Mondial are as robust as they are simple. Internet governance should be built on a fully inclusive, multi-stakeholder process, ensuring the meaningful and accountable participation of everyone involved. Decisions should be made in a bottom-up, open, participative, consensus-driven way. There should be a suitable level of accountability, with mechanisms for checks and balances, as well as for review and redress. And anyone affected by an internet governance process should be able to participate in that process. And I'm proud to say that the UK government wholeheartedly supports these principles as a basis for the global internet governance framework. Again, I know that some don't share this view. But what is the alternative? Top-down, centralised decision-making, a bureaucratic worldwide web of red tape. The internet being run not by the people who make it work on a daily basis, but by people like me. You don't want that. Horse-trading politicians behind closed doors. Imagine an internet that relied on governments having to agree things. Internet governance has to match the rapid pace of change experienced by the internet itself. But let's face it, rapid change and intergovernmental agreement are not concepts that generally go well together. That's why I was so keen to host the high-level meeting of governments here today. We're not here to make decisions on your behalf. We're here to talk about the ideas you've developed. We're here to learn more about ICANN and for you to learn more about us. Governments do have a role in internet governance, just as the technical, civil, and academic communities do. But we have responsibilities as well. We have to act proportionately in cyberspace. We have to empower the users of the internet by promoting and safeguarding freedom of expression. We have to ensure domestic legal frameworks are fair and consistent. And we have to establish and promote a robust global internet infrastructure that provides equal access for all and promotes economic development. But what we shouldn't be doing is attempting to manage how the internet is run. As Fadi has said, the internet is the greatest public gift, and it doesn't belong to anyone, and it shouldn't be controlled by anyone. You know, ICANN50 is taking place at a critical moment in discussions about the future of internet governance. I've already referred to Net Mondial, the key outcomes of which will be discussed at this meeting. The recommendations for strengthening the Internet Governance Forum should also feed into the 9th IGF in Istanbul in September. And following on from that, the International Telecommunications Union will have the opportunity to consider its role in standards and capacity building at the Plenipot. All these processes and linkages are against the backdrop of the WSIS Plus 10 review by the UN General Assembly. The outcomes of the 2005 Tunis Summit, which embedded the multi-stakeholder approach in the internet governance ecosystem, have been implemented very well. And you only need to look at the highly detailed evaluations produced by UNESCO last year to see that. So it makes sense for next year's final stage of the UN review process to also be undertaken with the active participation of representatives from all over the world. We have to look at alliances and active collaboration among stakeholder constituencies. And a key objective must be to strengthen the existing mechanisms and processes of the Internet Governance Forum, which we in the UK have always supported. I hope that we'll see the IGF with more immediate, visible and tangible outcomes, stronger links between the main IGF and the regional IGFs and with other entities in the Internet ecosystem. Achieving this will help with what has to be our #1 goal, bringing the next billion people from developing countries into the global digital economy with all the social and economic benefits that entails. Earlier this year, the World Wide Web celebrated its 25th birthday, 25 years of unparalleled expansion, economic growth, and social good. ICANN has been crucial to ensuring that success, and ICANN will be crucial to ensure that success continues for the next 25 years. So Tim Berners-Lee said the internet is for everyone. It is up to us to make sure it stays that way. Thank you very much.